Welcome to Team Alpha, another wonderful presentation from Team Alpha of Accelerant Referrals. This morning we have my friend Chance Brooker. Chance spent most of his professional life in construction, most of which was spent building high-end pools in the metro Atlanta area. At 27, he decided to become an entrepreneur and a network marketing professional because he wanted more freedom out of life that being an employee or a traditional business owner could not afford him. He now enjoys helping others attain financial, professional, and emotional freedom so that they too can enjoy a life of building their own dreams. Turn it over to you, Chance.
Awesome. Thank you, Gabe. Well, what I wanted to talk to everybody about today is something that I heard a couple years back that I think is incredibly powerful for someone who is building their business or trying to be more efficient in life, or even just achieving a goal that they've set for themselves. And it's extremely practical at the same time. It's easy to use, and it's not only been proven out by people using it, but it's also been proven by science. And it's something that Mel Robbins, who's a very famous woman who worked with CNN, and she's a serial entrepreneur, it's something that she developed and sort of honed in. And the idea in and of itself isn't something that she created per se, but it's something that she stumbled upon and articulated so that we can understand exactly how it's working. And it's called the 5-second rule. And so it applies to people taking action in their life in small ways and in big ways. It's actually something that I talked about on my Facebook Live video a few weeks back, and it got quite the response. So I wanted to talk about it again. And it pertains to this. It's sort of the secret of how in life that you want to go about actually developing an idea or taking action on a plan. Because most people will tell you when they're looking back on their life, they actually did a study out of Princeton with about 1,000 people where they were trying to identify the key thing in their life that they felt was either what they did or they didn't do in life. So they were trying to identify, did people feel like there was things holding them back that they didn't do, or things that held them back because of what they did do? And it was profoundly on the side of things people didn't do, meaning they look back and regret that they didn't take more action on things in their life, ideas that they had, plans that they made. And it's because of the way we're just naturally wired as humans. We're naturally wired to procrastinate. I wrote this down, which is, for most people, life is a snooze button. And that's true. When we look around the world today, especially in America, most people sort of have their life on a snooze button. They're constantly making these plans. They're constantly coming up with these ideas, even if it's just that they want to get out of their job or they want to lose some weight. And then they end up hitting the snooze button on that idea. And that seems like a pretty big thing and a pretty broad statement to make, but it starts in very small ways. And that snooze button analogy is a perfect analogy for this. Is you wake up in the morning, and what happens the night before? You go, okay, I'm going to wake up in the morning, and instead of waking up at 9 or 8, I'm going to wake up at 6:30, and I'm going to jog, and I'm going to make a healthy breakfast, and I'm going to do all this stuff to start out my day on the wrong track. You know, I'm going to get on my Zoom meeting with Gabe O'Neill. Then the clock goes off at 6:30. And do you have that same sort of ambition and drive that you did the night before when you were making the plan? No. What happens is you hit the snooze button, right? Because what happens is all these things start creeping in your mind. It's not this just sort of subconscious thing that's going on to where your subconscious tells you, oh, I'm tired, so I need to hit the snooze button. Your mind literally starts going through these circles, making excuses and thinking up reasons as to why you shouldn't get up, sort of pacifying yourself. Well, I'll do it tomorrow, or I don't really need to exercise today, et cetera, et cetera. And that's a small example of something that happens over and over and over through someone's life. But then you fast forward a year later and they're still in their same morning routine, or they haven't lost that weight. They haven't started being a person that jogs. So the 5-second rule is something that's actually been proven out by science, which shows that anytime someone comes up with an idea, a plan, or they suddenly have something go through their mind where they want to take action, you have 5 seconds to actually make a physical action in the direction of that plan or idea in order to increase the chances of that thing actually coming to fruition dramatically. Meaning, what happens is someone comes up with that idea and they're lying there in bed and they go, I want to get up and jog in the morning before I start my work routine. And within 5 seconds, sometimes whether they even realize it or not, their mind will start trying to figure out ways to avoid taking action on that. So within 5 seconds, think about whether it's approaching some person that you know who is someone who's famous, or someone who has what it is that you want, or a mentor that you've been wanting to talk to, some person that a little bit of fear creeps in approaching them. Or if it's actually starting the very first building blocks of developing a business idea. We constantly have these things come up into our mind that are these awesome, grand ideas or plans. But then within 5 seconds, we start making the excuses as to why we can't do it, why we shouldn't do it, why we can put it off until tomorrow, why I'm not qualified enough to develop my business. And then nothing happens. We don't take action towards that idea or plan because of that process happening. And if that just happens one day in our life, it's no big deal. But if we're someone who lets that process take place over and over and over again throughout our entire life, well, we end up being 70 or 80 and we have this huge list of things that we didn't end up taking action on. So it's not a matter of knowing what you need to do, because this is something Mel Robbins, who came up with this, was talking about, is we all know what we need to do, because oftentimes what we need to do is the most difficult or uncomfortable thing to do. And just again, the most simple illustration is losing weight or becoming more fit. If you want to lose weight, or you want to build muscle, or you want to become more athletic or get better at a sport, do you know what you need to do that? Of course. You know exactly what you need to do. You need to run, or you need to lift weights, or you need to practice swinging that golf club. You know exactly what you need to do in order to start moving toward that goal. It may not be a perfect plan, but you know exactly what first steps you need to take towards that fitness or weight loss goal. But does that make it easy to do just because you know what it is you need to do? Or if you're in your work environment and one of your coworkers comes in who's a very confrontational, arrogant person that you don't want to talk to, when you look at them come in the room, do you know what you need to do? You still need to acknowledge them and say, hello, Joe, how are you? You know exactly what you need to do. Chances are you don't want to do it. And that plays into much grander goals in our life. If we want to write a book, you know exactly what you need to do to start doing that. You need to start putting your thoughts on paper, actually getting out a pen and starting to write it. So whenever these plans come into place, here's what you need to do. Within 5 seconds of that plan or idea or thought of taking action comes into your brain, in that 5 seconds, you must speak, you must write, you must schedule, or you must ask. And here's what I mean by that. If it's someone that you see that you've been meaning to talk to, you've wanted to ask a question, but you're fearful. If you see that person, maybe it's in a networking environment, maybe it's at some sort of seminar, maybe it's at a conference, maybe it's just at a friend's house, and you see that person and that, boom, idea hits. Within 5 seconds, you need to start walking towards that person. When you're in front of that person and the idea comes up to say something or actually initiate talking about an idea you've had, within 5 seconds, you need to speak on it. If it's simply a goal that you want, if you're in bed at 11 o'clock at night and your goal is to exercise, obviously that's not the best time to do it. You're not going to get out of bed right then. But here's what you do need to do. You need to pull out a piece of paper and you need to write down that you're going to do that tomorrow. And this isn't just like a simple exercise. The reason why you have to do one of these things, schedule, speak, ask, start walking towards or writing that goal down, is because what they've actually found is the way our brain is actually made up is when you actually take a physical action directly tied to that plan that's come up in your head, you are actually building a neural pathway for that idea. And when that happens, the chances of you actually getting up the next day after you've written down, I'm going to jog tomorrow at 7. It may not feel like it when you put that pen down, but the chances of you acting on it the next morning, it increases dramatically. If you start walking towards that person, that's a physical action, and the way our brains are created is that actually starts building a neural pathway at that moment that is tied to that very thought and plan that you had of speaking to that person. So as you start to walk toward them, the chances of you then now turning around and running the other direction, it goes way down because you've actually started a physical action tied to that thought that you had. So we can use this in so many ways. It's an incredible tool. Whether you want to write a book, you want to start an exercise program, you want to develop a business idea like Accelerant Referrals or Sandler Training or whatever it is, as soon as that thought comes into your head, realize in 5 seconds, your brain's going to start thinking up fears, variables, and excuses as to why you shouldn't pursue it or put it off. So immediately take a physical action to start building an actual brain matter pathway towards that goal coming to fruition. And they've seen this across thousands of people, help them start taking the actions, developing the habits in life that will help them achieve those plans and ideas that they have. So apply the 5-second rule, not the one where you drop the chip on the ground, but a 5-second rule towards the ideas that you have. Start writing them down, planning them out, speaking on them, and we increase our chances of achieving them much, much greater. So that's what I wanted to speak about today, and hope that offers a little bit of value.
Awesome, Chance. Well, thank you very much on that. Let me ask you something. What's something most recently that you've done where you've employed that 5-second rule?
The most recent thing that's of consequence is with my Facebook Live. I'm trying to do a lot more branding of myself through social media. Prior to about a month ago, I never really delved into social media. I always post stuff on there, I always kind of create curiosity, but I've never done any branding where I'm speaking about stuff and ideas like this. So I always wanted to pursue that, but I wasn't applying the 5-second rule. It's always kind of creeped up into my head, but I've been so busy with other stuff that I haven't done it. And then one day, a friend of mine, some of you on here know him, Benny Faircloth, he was mentioning that I should do that. And that very thing is, I was lying in bed and just thinking about the next day and what I wanted to do to be more productive. And I thought about Facebook Live. So I actually wrote down that I was going to contact him in the morning, go meet him to discuss how exactly to be productive and fruitful over Facebook Live. And I put that in my calendar, and then I put my calendar back on my desk, went to bed, and the next day, it wasn't something that I had to now think about doing again. It was in my calendar, and I immediately took action on it because it was just a bullet point. And as a result, I've now made a series of videos, and I've got a good response.
Very cool. Very cool. Well,
I have a question for Chance. Who was the person that created the 5-second rule? The name of that person?
Her name is Mel Robbins, and if you look her up on YouTube, she's got a series of videos, and she speaks at a lot of conferences. She was with CNN for a long time, and she's opened restaurants. She launches a lot of businesses, but she's also just an entrepreneurial and motivational speaker. And she actually, if you look up her YouTube videos on the 5-second rule, she actually goes way in depth with the science behind it and the steps to take and how you can turn it into an actual business tool. It's awesome.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah, I think what you had talked about, Chance, and as far as, and, you know, you also had somebody kind of give you a little nudge to do that, right? Your Denny Fairclough friend. I must give Keith credit because when Accelerant Referrals got started, this was at the Sandy Spring. I went to Keith and I said, "Hey, I'm thinking about starting, you know, a group of engaged people to help each other get referrals." And he said directly to me, "Yeah, I'm in." And he said, I've been thinking about doing that myself. And without that little nudge, who knows? If he had said, "Oh, you're full of crap," if I don't really care. I mean, no. So those little things really can, you know, having somebody empower you really makes a difference. Have any other questions for Chance? All right, buddy. Well, thanks. Very great topic.
A quick comment.
Go ahead.
Yeah, just a quick comment for Chance. I like what you said about how you're listening and you got all these things going through your mind. And for me, you know, we all have these things that go into your mind that take away the lack of or take away the confidence. And so for me, I try to stop listening to myself and start talking to myself, if that makes any sense. So I appreciate that stuff that you said. Thanks.
Awesome.
Very good. All right. Thanks, Chance.